We're going to talk about factoring quadratic expressions in this video, and the form will look like this: ax squared plus bx plus c. And so that's called standard form. And especially in this video, what we're going to look at is we're going to look at situations where the a value is greater than 1. So numbers like 2, 3, 4, and they don't factor out. So let's kind of jump right into this. The first situation that we're going to look at, number 1 here, is we're going to look at 2x squared plus 17x plus 8. And when you're looking at, forgot my x, so 2x squared plus 17x plus 8. And when you're looking at a problem like this, trying to factor it, the first thing you always want to do is try to see if you can find a greatest common factor. However, there is no greatest common factor between 2x squared, 17x, and 8, so you're stuck with the way it is. And since a is greater than 1, it's 2, you have to now factor it. What we did in class, you have to factor it using a guess and check method. So we said take the first term and say what multiplies to 2x squared. Anything, all possibilities. So the only thing that multiplies to 2 is 2 and 1, so it would be 2x and x. But we also said take the last term and say what multiplies to the last term. And so we have lots of options: 1 and 8, 2 and 4, and I guess not that many options. The reason I don't want to go with like -1 and -8 is because the middle term that you see here is positive, and so we know that we won't need any negatives in this problem. Now what we said is what you want to do is you just want to write your binomials, and you want to create a combination of the first terms, or the factors of the first term and factors of the last term, so that if you FOIL it out, it would equal your original problem. So I'm just going to make one up, and so I'm going to do my work off to the side here. So a combination could be 2x and then plus 1. I'm using the 1 over here. 2x plus 1 and x plus 8. And then another combination could be 2x plus 8 and x plus 1. Another combination could be 2x plus 2, right, and x plus 4. Or another combination could be 2x plus 4 and x plus 2. And you say to yourself, well, how do you decide which one's right? The way to decide which one's right is basically to go backwards and FOIL and decide which one actually gives you 2x squared plus 17x plus 8 if you were to FOIL it back, and that one would be your answer. Really the only check you need to do is the outside and the inside. And so I'm going to check those, and if I multiply them together, 2x times 8 is 16x, and 1 times x is 1x. And so if you think about it, 16x plus 1x is 17x. So I lucked out. Very first one I made was the actual answer. So your answer here that you would write is 2x plus 1 and x plus 8. And none of these other ones would work. So let me just show you why they wouldn't work. So take this 2x and multiply by 2. That's 4x. And then take the 4 times the x. That's also 4x. Those add to 8x. We want them to add to 17x. So it doesn't work. So this one doesn't work, this one wouldn't work, and this one wouldn't work. That is what you're left with. So let's try another one out real quick. Okay, let's go with let's see, I'm trying some stuff out. Oh, look at this. It's not erasing very well, but it is what it is. So we're stuck with that. Oh, what if I just threw it out? Ha! You're welcome. That was easy. You would have had to watch me erase the whole thing. That's silliness. Alright, let's try another one. Number 2 here. Let's go with 4x squared plus or minus 7x plus 3. Okay. So 4x squared plus 7x minus 3. Once again, no greatest common factor. So what multiplies to 4x squared? Well, 4x and x. or 2x and 2x. For 3 though, you've got 3 and 1. But here's something I want you to notice. Take a look at your middle term. Your middle term is negative, right? Notice how that's a negative 7? So that means the last number is created by two negatives because you want them to be negative 1 and negative 3 so that they can multiply to a positive 3, but then they'll be used to add to negative 7. So life gets a little bit nicer when you start guessing and checking because you know that it has to be negative 3 and negative 1. Now you just need to figure out what right combination of these guys needs to go in order to make sure that they add to 7. So if we started with 4x and x and you checked, man, I'm getting really good in this video. 4x, that'd be negative 4x. And you check these, that'd be negative 3x. And so when you look at it, now you've got yourself negative 4x plus negative 3x. That's negative 7x right there. So didn't intend to get the right answer the right way, but that's what happens when you guess and check. Sometimes you'll get the right one, or sometimes you'll just have to keep trying and trying and trying until you get the right one. And so our answer, the way we would write that is we would write, maybe not all with all that mess in the way, we would just make sure that everybody knew that the answer was 4x minus 3 and x minus 1. And that's what we would go with. Okay, so I'm going to try one more, I suppose. Alright, here it is. It's going to be 5x squared minus 4x minus 12. See if I can't bring something new to the table here. So what multiplies to 5x squared? That'd be 5x and x. But here's something I want you to kind of notice. The 12 is negative. Alright, the 12 is negative, so that means you're going to have a positive and a negative. So you'll either have negative 1 and 12, or negative 12 and 1. You could have negative 2 and 6. You could have negative 6 and 2. You could have negative 3 and 4. You could have negative 4 and 3. And I know what you're thinking now that you're watching me write all that down. You're saying, so I need to check all these combinations. Well, yes and no. You know that your only situation is 5x and x. So if I put those in, I know it has to be 5x and x. Now you have to figure out which combination of these pairs, right? Is it going to be this one? Is it going to be this one? Is it going to be this one? I'm just not sure. But I want to kind of play this out and think about it before I just start plugging numbers in. I know that I want them to add to negative 4. So this is where you really need to start thinking about where you put the numbers. If you put negative 1, okay, here, and then positive 12 here, well, automatically I know that the negative times 5 is going to be negative 5, and 12 times 1 is going to be 12. So I know that's going to be bigger, right? That's going to add to something that's positive. So it's not something that I actually want. So I'm going to get rid of that. So, and if I were to switch it and I put 12 with the x part, I would end up with 12 times 5, which is 60. So the 12 seems to not be helping me out. So now I'm going to go to the next one, and I'm going to say, okay, I've got a negative 2 and I've got a 6. If I do negative 2 times 5, that'd be negative 10, and if I did 6 times 1, that'd be 6. Negative 10 and 6 seems to add to negative 4. So I actually think I found my answer. So plus 6 here, and minus 4, or 2, excuse me, here, because negative, right, negative 2 there, and so the reason I say that is because the negative 2 would get multiplied by the 5, and the 6 would get multiplied by the x, and that would end up combining for negative 4x. So the way you kind of want to go through it is you want to kind of think ahead. What would really help? Would something actually make sense? If I put a 12 with where the 2 is, it's going to make 60, and that's not helping anybody out. So that's kind of how factoring needs to go, and you get better as you practice. All right? Have a great day. Talk to you later.